Today, I want to explain what is Web 1, what is Web 2, and what is Web 3 by having a real life experience. Just think about your student days. You are spending your time in your school, and there is a common thing which is known as an attendance sheet. Attendance sheets demonstrate your participation on that particular lesson. And while I'm building this analogy between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, I'm going to use attendance sheet. Web 1 is the situation which teachers looks at you and write down your names into the paper. So there is a one paper include your name, let's say Jack, John, Alp, and so on. Teacher actually has the data. Teacher has the block. Teacher has the attendance sheet. So teacher can actually manipulate it. Teacher can change it. Or a person who has bad will can remove that block note. And also, teacher can actually miss you while reading down the names. On the Web 2, actually, let's think like there is an attendance sheet and you are having attendance sheet for a time. You write down your name and you give it, for example, to the other person. The other person writes his name or her name. And after that, give it back to teacher. So there is also a center. Even though you wrote your name below this paper and you demonstrate your participation, the data is actually collected in a center in the teacher's desk. So same thing, same situation also applies on this scenario too. Teacher can manipulate it, teacher can change it, or someone can steal it. Some bad things can happen actually. On the Web 3 actually, again, there is an attendance sheet example. However, on this sort of situation, every single one of the person has the attendance sheet. Just like that. There is a person 1 has the sheet. There is person 2 has the sheet. There is person 3 has also this sheet. So while someone is right below their name on this sheet, every single of the block is updating at the same time. So everything happens simultaneously and the data is allocated into the people's sheet. So while we are actually looking for that, we can see the fairly distributed data on this sort of situation. So Web 3 is a technology which allows you to having your own data, just like that. Web 1 and Web 2 solutions based on the classical methods, having the paper, write it down, however, it is not safety. But Web 3 solution is based on the algorithms and the computer science. So on the Web 3, you can both have your data, you can both create the data, and you can both read the data. It is a revelation. And Web 3 revelation, same thing also applies into the payment systems. Let's assume that there is a grocery market's notebook and he writes below the debts and the things on this notebook. It is Web 1. Notebook can be actually manipulated, can be stolen. Everything can happen. On the Web 2, just assume that our current payment system like Visa, like MasterCard, yes, the data is stored in the applications, in the servers. However, the data is allocated into a center. And when something is centralized, that means that the center can actually change it, center can actually manipulate it, and so on. But on the Web 3, the data is allocated into the chain, into the blockchain, and it makes it more secure and more trustworthy. For these payment systems, when we compare the MasterCard and Visa and Stellar and the Stellar network, we can understand that Stellar network is better than this two optional system. First thing first, actually, Stellar ecosystem, Stellar blockchain allows every single one of the world people, every single one of the world nation can use it. And it can't be manipulated by some governments, by some sort of restrictions. So it actually allows you to having a fair distribution for every single one of the world's population. I think it is revolutionary. And also technical side, it allows you to having more faster transactions with more cheap fees. So Stellar is actually better than this sort of classical payment systems. You can see it on the charts. You can calculate the transaction per second. You can calculate the cost for this every single transactions and so on. And also, Stellar ecosystem is decentralized. There is no center. That means that no one can actually take your money from your pocket. On this system, MasterCard, Visa, and traditional financial system, you have the money on your bank accounts, but they can take it, they can freeze it, they can restrict your transactions. However, Stellar is the ecosystem of freedom.